Welcome to Shawn and Carter Have a Podcast. This is a new intro.
And this is my response to it.
There, we broke out of the mold. We're a whole new podcast.
Yes, the um, the initials for it are complicated.
Alicia doesn't think that Shawn and Carter Have a Podcast is a title.
What does that mean? What does
I
that
don't
mean?
know. She seems to think it's like a stand-in for what will be a better title.
All right, Alicia, what's your better title?
I think I asked her the same thing. She just spun her wheels. She doesn't know.
Not only is it a title, it's declarative and full of meaning. It's Shawn and Carter have a podcast.
It's the most important things about what you need to know.
Yeah. What is it? It's a podcast. Who?
Oh, it's a podcast. Who's in it?
Shawn and Carter.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, they're having it right now. Jeez. Jeez, Alicia.
That's all you need to understand.
I
And we're
don't
going to keep it brief this week because I'm going to go get some delicious dinner with Alicia and her cousin and her boyfriend. Her cousin's boyfriend.
cousin's boyfriend. Alicia has a boyfriend.
Alicia's boyfriend. We're going to a place called Buca di Beppo. Have you ever heard of it?
I have been to a Buca de Beppo before.
It's a family style Italian restaurant. They serve like if you order mashed potatoes, it's enough mashed potatoes for 6 people.
Yes, I, I, I it's fine. The sodium content is very high in a lot
I'm
of
sure it's
food,
off the chart.
which is why I avoid it. I don't.
I haven't been there for 3 years, and I'm sure after this time I won't go for another 3 years. There's not one close, so
Yeah,
this is kind of a trip, and I will use the excuse that it's only once every 3 years to ingest all that sodium.
I think I've had Buca de Beppo once in my life, in Columbus, or as the kids call it, C-bus. Um,
I didn't realize they called it that.
you don't live in Ohio. I wouldn't expect you to. I had it once. It was when I was graduating from high school. So the last time I had Buca de Beppo was, oh, 5 years ago.
Oh, you're so old, Carter.
5 years ago? Is that right? I'm so old.
It's like
Ugh.
forever
It's like
ago.
forever ago. Well, for a lot of our audience, 5 years ago was like half their life ago.
Yeah, that was like
Does that mean? Was
that
that
was the birth of YouTube, 2000, 2005.
6 years ago? Still, that's a long time ago. 6 years ago?
I can't believe you remember it.
I know. I can't. It's crazy. You know what else is crazy? Pamela. What is up with this, Sean? We're having
I don't
problems with
know.
Pamela.
Pamela is the plugin that I use for Skype to record our podcast, and it sometimes it doesn't even know that we're on a call. Sometimes it tries to record, but the timer just sits at 0. Sometimes when we're disconnected by Michael Sarah, it will lose audio recording.
I'm very frustrated with her. I,
She
I
needs an update.
she does. She does. We're talking about her like she's Siri. Um, I've said this before, and maybe I will make a concerted effort this week, but I know that Dan Benjamin and all of his 5x5 shows, I know that they're all Skype calls, and they are very high quality, and I don't think he's using Pamela. So I don't know, Pamela. I'm at my wit's end with you. I might ask Dan what his setup is.
Well, at least we're not buzzing anymore.
We're not buzzing, and I intentionally charged my battery up to full, even though it's going to be a short podcast.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yes, yes. So, follow up from last week. Uh, so we got some Ron's random questions, some RRQ.
Oh, nice.
We got one that we're going to tackle briefly. So Ron poses sort of a kind of like those old SAT equivalency questions,
Right.
back in the day. They don't do that anymore. I don't know if you know that, but they don't do those anymore. They're gone. Kids don't even know what they
He's
are.
got a kid. I'll find out soon enough.
Yeah. So he's posing the question, Coke and Pepsi. What do Microsoft and Apple? How do they, relate to them? Who is Coke and who is Pepsi in that scenario? That's his question.
Okay. Well, in the Coke and Pepsi scenario, what are they supposed to be?
Well, I
About 50% of the market share.
yeah, Coke and Pepsi. Well, I think they're basically like 45% and 45% each
Right.
of the brown sugar water market.
You know what? I don't even like either.
I
If that's the only choice that I have, I would drink Pepsi, but I wouldn't really like it.
I would drink. Well, I don't drink. I'm watching my weight. I don't drink the the full the full flavored sugar water. I drink diet, and it's Diet Coke for me. That's just my preference. And if I were drinking the sugared kind, it would be Coke. But you
Good, something for us to argue about for no reason.
know, yeah, the one thing that we really disagree about, but like we don't really care.
But Microsoft and Apple,
So, well, I think what Ron wants to say is like, what are they in the is Microsoft Pepsi or are they Coke? Right?
the answer is no.
The answer is no. I we reject the premise. They're too different from Pepsi and Coke because like neither Pepsi nor Coke has like 92% of their market. Microsoft is just like totally dominant.
Yes,
And like
everywhere.
everywhere. Well, not in phones. Apple and Android got that. But
That is true.
that's true. Because we can talk about this on some other podcast, but Microsoft is continuing to pursue this strategy of Windows everywhere. That's been their strategy literally since like 1991. And it's like maybe Windows everywhere doesn't make sense when you're dealing with a phone.
Windows everywhere is Microsoft's war on drugs.
Yes. Very expensive for them and largely unsuccessful, and the kids are still getting high.
Thanks to that drug peddler Steve Jobs,
Steve Jobs.
that iPod peddler.
iPod peddler. You know, uh, sidebar on all that. No one's come out with a competitor to the iPod ever. Have you noticed that?
I was reading about that. Entertainment Weekly did a little like it's been 10 years since the iPod, and they had interviews with some of the Apple technicians who just like they just basically they spent their entire time trying to stay ahead of the competition, which was inevitably going to come, and they're still waiting.
Yeah.
They've never seen a product that has come close to stealing the spotlight away from them.
Yeah, I know, and it's been 10 years. It like there's nothing. I mean, which I think says something for the platform at least. Uh,
Microsoft took 5 years to get into it, and they discontinued their Zune earlier this month, I think.
a little while ago, pretty recently. Do you ever? I
It's
did.
gone.
Did you ever use a Zune?
No, I haven't. I haven't even touched one.
They're horrible.
Of course they are.
Horrible. I don't even want to go down that road. I knew some kids when I was in, I guess when I was in high school,
I'm
who had
pretty
Zune.
sure Bobby has one.
Ugh, man, they're painful.
Bobby, who could have fixed our power cord problem just like that.
Yeah, Bobby, we asked people. Bobby, you tweeted that, oh, your first guess to our problem would have been the power cord. We asked!
Yeah, we started asking about this like a month ago.
Tisk, tisk. Tisk, tisk.
Thanks for volunteering late.
So, long story short, um, in Microsoft and Apple, I will say Apple is Coke because I prefer Coke, as I prefer Apple to Microsoft.
I think you figured it out.
Yep. As I am reading off of my notes on my iPad.
Your iPad, which you recorded a very popular video on.
Jeez, jeez,
Nice
Sean.
to see you to return to the YouTubes.
Yes, it is. You it was very popular, and my it's tied for my most liked video with my little Let's Play thing that I did way back when my real
That
life
was a
Let's Play.
classic.
Classic. you should mention my videos on your Professor Martin thing because they're like totally the opposite of everything that you are teaching people there.
I could illustrate a few points with them, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, please don't. Like it, I think the point is I've got like 10 friends who I'm like 10 online friends who will watch my videos when they come out. So like,
And a bunch of Minecraft fans who are like, why am I subscribed to this guy's channel?
yeah, and then they check out my video and they're like, oh, what's going on? Okay, bye. And it's like, hey. But yeah, I record a little. I promised people on this podcast I would record an iPad vlog, which I
So if
did.
you didn't see it, he did. It's over there.
I did. It's on my channel. It's my latest video. Probably won't be another video for a month or 10. So, but the video was I was going back to my roots. Video response. That's what my channel used to be all about before I got all corporate.
Right. Jeez.
Well,
Who was that response to, Carter?
it was to a one Mike Lombardo. He is a YouTube musician.
Yeah.
So popular enough for YouTube. He's a successful YouTube musician, and I think objectively a lot of people like his music and what he does. But he put a video out there. These videos tend to crop up like every 3 or 4 months on YouTube. Like someone will record one of these videos about how YouTube is killing the community.
Right.
They're um
They're
they're
stifling creativity by rewarding the corporate entities that have taken over the YouTubes.
yes, they're leaving them to the dire wolves. By the way, I've started reading Game of Thrones.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, throwing it out there.
I don't want to touch it.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it. I'm gonna have
Since
thoughts. I'm reading the book. I'm not gonna watch the. I'm
and I'm not
playing.
going to be able to talk to you about it because I don't have time to read.
Yeah, I know. And I'm reading it first, not because I approve of Hank Green's thing, but just
Right.
because I don't want to watch them. Because it was a lot cheaper to buy the book than to pay to watch all of the all of the episodes. So, uh, Mike Lombardo records this video just like if you watch any video of mine, watch this one. He's got all this like great content, like music, original content. And I would argue that what he was doing right here was far from original. And he's like, if you watch only one of my videos, watch this one. And it's that like YouTube is destroying original content. I'm so tired of this. That was the point of my whole vlog. I'm so tired of people complaining about this.
If I ever make a video like that, someone slap me. Please.
I,
Call my wife and tell her to slap me.
yeah, like I record. So Andrew Bravner is another popular small YouTuber with only 85,000 subscribers. He recorded one of these types of videos like 6 months ago. I recorded a response to it where I gave my actual thoughts that yes, this is like somewhat true, but hey, guess what? YouTube needs to make money, and you're just being lazy. Like you could find this good content out; it's out there. You just don't want to.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time for five things trying to find those kind of little guys who aren't getting the attention they need and they don't know where to go.
Exactly, exactly. And it's like this is what all art is. All art has a system around it like this, you know?
I think that one of the first things I said on Twitter about it when I saw your reply, oh, I wrote on your video that it's like the box office. Like there are giant mega movies that make hundreds of millions of dollars or $1 billion. And then there are like movies like Clerks that cost $27,000 and make a couple million. Like there's a scale, there's a line to be graphed.
Yes. Yes. And I think that anyone complaining about YouTube sort of intentionally trying to wreck the community is just full of themselves. YouTube is doing none of that. This is like the way I said it in my video was it's YouTube is agnostic to the content. It doesn't care. It's not
Right.
targeting you. It's not like, oh, all these people who want to build community and do original things, we're gonna screw them. It's like no, they're just like they're going to the system is just set up so that the videos that get more views are going to generate more revenue, and that's what YouTube wants,
So make better videos.
right? Or criticize the low standards of all of the viewers that you want watching your videos.
Right.
That sounded mean. I'm sorry, Mike.
Well, maybe the median age of YouTube has a lot to do with it.
I think it does. I think it does. Um,
We need
So,
some older people watching YouTube, and those people aren't going to see that video, Mike Lombardo.
right. Or, why don't you get some of your YouTube friends with under 100,000 subscribers and maybe try and get Hank or John Green to help you out making another video site that will cater to niche communities, and you can be like HBO or some niche network that you can put your Arrested Developments on there, and since you're targeting people
So
like me,
wait. Do we get to show nudity then?
maybe
Oh,
see,
sexy tube.
sexy tube. Well, they got a lot of those. No, but I'm just saying, like, one of the reasons why these like low quality high traffic videos work on YouTube is because the customers of YouTube, the advertisers, they don't need to search out high quality content because of the disparity between view counts. Um, is so much different on YouTube than the disparity in viewership on television shows. Like Arrested Development was on for 3 seasons and it only had like like 1 million viewers, and the most popular show ever would have like 7 million. Like seven. It's a difference of 7 times. It's not, but that's
But
not
it's
that.
still a small audience
It's a small audience. When you're talking about like
on television.
right, like if you're talking about a Mike Lombardo video that gets 5,000 views versus some Justin Bieber thing that gets 50 million views, that's like orders of magnitude greater than the disparity between an Arrested Development and like a Law and Order,
Right.
right? So it's like advertisers have no incentive to search right now, just because they can just throw things on there and get all the money that they want.
Yeah, that's what Vivo and everything is for.
Exactly. Vivo is like such a great example of that. It's just like they've
I
they've
love the rage on all the Vivo videos. Like all the top comments are like, "Get off of YouTube."
yeah, but it's like but they're the ones doing the best. It's like
Exactly.
that's yeah. Okay, so long story short, Mike Lombardo is so wrong. And I recorded my iPad vlog. You're welcome. So we're gonna cover our 70s horror movie, which I swear Netflix is listening to these podcasts, Sean.
I think they are.
This
And
happened with Tale of Two Sisters.
yes, after we mentioned it, Tale of Two Sisters disappeared. We were going to watch we were going to watch
Hills Have Eyes.
Hills Have Eyes, and it disappeared from streaming between when we recorded and when we went to watch.
When we were talking about it, I looked it up. I looked it up. I'm like, oh yeah, Hills Have Eyes, great. And now it's gone. We're gonna talk about that, uh, probably somewhat briefly. But before we get there, we have our main topic, which is indie gaming and a little game called Project Zomboid and the kerfuffle that brewed up around some of their activities this week.
Yeah, we have no major notch embarrassing news because they won their first injunction against Mojang or Bethesda.
Yeah, Bethesda has the injunction on Minecraft
Okay,
or
okay.
on Mojang. They can't use the word scrolls in any of their product. They can't release like an alpha product, or they can't use it in any advertising or press releases right now. But they won the first part of that fight.
Right.
Good for you, Mojang.
So since we can't report on anything else about that, Project Zomboid went ahead and got themselves robbed.
Oh boy. Like, and I want to say from the get-go, it's terribly unfortunate. It is like I'm not happy that they're that they were burgled. That, like, just to get that out of the way. Um,
I'm not either, to be
right?
clear.
Like that has nothing to do with this. But they it was an apartment, I believe, that was robbed,
Yeah,
not a
they were
studio.
developing in a flat that two of members of the
Hmm?
team shared.
And their computers were stolen, and their computers had all of the code for all the work that they've done over the past like 3 months.
And they
For
had no external site backup
yes,
or anything like that.
that is the that is like my main bone of contention. So stuff gets stolen, they've lost all their code. That's horrible. Now, what does that mean practically for people who've paid for these updates? Means that they're not going to get an update for like a really long time. And at that point, they were, there was a possibility that maybe they would just, who knows? Maybe Project Zomboid would just be abandoned.
Vaporware.
Vaporware. So, one of the developers takes to Twitter, uh, and I believe there was a Reddit post about this. Anyway, they let people know, and apparently there was just like an extreme negative backlash toward this guy. I believe his name's Chris.
Sure.
Just like, like what's going on? Like, why did you do this? Like, what were you thinking? How did you not back this up externally? You loser. Um, and this guy had just been robbed, and
Was drinking.
he did not like it at all that these people were talking negatively about him. And I think the drinking might have been part of it. But he decided to respond.
He kind of flipped out a little bit.
Totally flipped out. Totally went off the rails. Cursing and do you have the link to the
I don't, but I can.
Okay, that'll be in the link dump show notes, whatever. The he subsequently deleted all of these tweets.
He deleted the Twitter account.
Oh, I didn't even know. Oh my god, I didn't realize. Okay, his whole account. So he and or his friends realized after the fact that this was not a good move to have gone off the rails in such a big way. And like that's basically the end. That's basically the debacle. And they've had a more substantive and calm release saying, we're not abandoning this. We're gonna like buckle down, write things over again.
They also acknowledge the stupid Twitter
Yes,
thing.
exactly. And this the
Our
re-
bad.
are bad. The reason why I really wanted to talk about this was because I think this plays into the whole like why we've been so critical of Notch and Mojang. And there was a Reddit post about this that had a lot of Project Zomboid supporters in the comments. Like people shouldn't be so mean to them, and then just a very small number of people being like, yes, people shouldn't be mean, but also it's totally legitimate to criticize them for not using industry standard best practices.
You'd think that the money that they've already made of the purchase of the game would be plenty to afford
Yeah,
backup offsite.
yes. And this like sort of distills down, I think, a lot of the things Sean and I have been saying about Mojang and just independent game developers generally. And you can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes. A lot of times they don't use best practices. Like when it comes to public communication is one of Mojang's problems. They don't
Like,
use
yeah, throwing out all these court documents into the public eye and talking about it on Twitter constantly.
yeah, I like that is far from the best practice that the industry has landed on. The poor public communications that the Project Zomboid guy had on Twitter, and the really bad failure to follow best practice of backing up your code externally. I think that's totally open to criticism.
Yeah,
I
you know who else had a lot of code stolen one time and then went on to produce one of the best games of all time? Valve.
Valve.
Like 80% of Half-Life 2 was stolen before the game came out.
Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking of I think something that the Project Zomboid team said, I think it was probably this Chris guy, was, well, it's like, we wanted to do it, and we wanted to do more frequent backups, but it's just like things got really stressful, and it was it slipped our minds or something like that. I knew a guy, the father of one of my friends when I was younger. He took what was that?
Nothing, cats being cats, don't worry about
Keep it. Don't edit it out.
It was a gang of motorcycles
Gang of
driving
motorcycles.
by.
Paranormal Activity.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Anywho's it, the father of one of my friends when I was a kid, he took like a ton of movies and photos. He was one of those dads. Like he took pictures constantly of his family, of like sporting events. Like he built a lot, and he would take pictures of like all of that, right? And that's like precious material, like your code.
Right?
He every week or every 2 weeks would take all of that stuff and put it on a CDR back in the day, and he would drive to his
Could have
brother's
been a
house.
zip drive.
Well, he did have a zip drive, but those were so notoriously bad. Like they failed so constantly, he didn't trust them. He would drive to his brother's house, and they would trade their backups in case anything happened, like if the house burned down. You see, it's not just like that's the thing. It's like it's not just that this guy Chris was like, well, who would have thought we'd been burglarized? It's like, yeah, but like, what if your building caught on fire, right? Or
Right.
what if like
Any number of acts of God.
what if like these computers are on the same network? What if you got a virus? Like what like uh, people don't think about this a lot, but like hard drives fail constantly. Like things happen to them a lot. Like what if um they clearly weren't running a RAID setup. We don't need to get into like the details of this, but like they weren't running like a more sophisticated backup setup. They were just like hard drive on computer A, hard drive on computer B. So if there was a fault that occurred in the code on computer A and they just backed it up to computer B, that fault would just go back and forth, and it could corrupt their entire code base. There's nothing backing up that would prevent that from happening. It's like they they should have thought through their disaster recovery plan in much more detail.
And guess what? They will now.
They will now. I would recommend getting a rack space RAID setup, which I think costs like $100 a month or something. It's pretty cheap, and you can back it up to the cloud, to servers in Texas or North Carolina, and it's safe.
Hear that, indie game developers? Carter has the solution.
Well, that's the solution to this problem. But the bigger solution is to not be so. I just feel like a lot of the, like, at least in these two cases, they just seem so full of themselves, like, well, we're independent, you know? Like, we
And
don't.
I'm sure they don't think that they're being that way, but that's why you have a PR team.
Yes.
Because you don't know how you sound. You need someone who's going to be able to tell you, like, I do not, no, let's not go public with that. Let's say it this way.
Right. Exactly. Like, being independent doesn't mean that you suddenly no longer have to uh, follow all of the best practices of the industry anymore. It just means that you don't have shareholders
Or a budget.
or a budget.
But
Well, Mojang has sold what 14 million copies of Minecraft?
they've sold almost five. Stop exaggerating.
50 billion copies of Minecraft?
They're
Well,
almost at 5 million.
5 million at no less than $15
Yeah.
a piece. They have almost 20 developers. Developers are not cheap. So, like, and Project Zomboid is also fairly popular.
Yeah.
It just seems like their response is like, well, we're allowed to have temper tantrums because we're independent. And it's like, no, that doesn't like entitle you to just be ludicrous. Or
I'm
maybe I'm
sure
wrong.
I'm sure it's just going to turn a lot of people off.
Exactly. It just seems like we just want to make games. We're not in it for, for the business reasons. It's like, yeah, but guess what? The business reasons are the reasons why you get to make games.
Yeah. Must add here.
Yes. Like if you can't sell it, if you can't ship it, then it should just be a hobby of yours, not your full-time job. And if you want it to be your full-time job, it has to be a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the last tweet that he released before people retaliated, and probably the reason they were, was he said, by the way, his name is Lemmy on Twitter. I don't know if that means his name was Lemmy.
Not anymore.
He said, we still have We still have some code, but it's basically before the last update. This will probably finish us. Sorry to let everyone down.
Yeah.
That was when everyone freaked out because they were like, we gave you money.
Yes. So, one, should have had a better backup strategy. Two, should have had a better public communication strategy. Three, don't drink and tweet.
Don't drink and tweet about your professional life.
Sounded like you were about to say dwink and tweet.
Drink and tweet.
Okay, enough of that. Hopefully, we never mention any of this stuff again.
Also, I've never played Project Zomboid. I'm
I,
just gonna throw that out there.
I saw the first part of a Paul Soares playthrough of like
I did
a
too.
very early pre-release of it.
Yes, me too.
Um, cool. So, moving on to to hopefully more interesting topics that we're not going to cover this week. Uh, we've recommended everyone watch American Horror Story. Have you? Have you?
We
People?
have.
We have.
We're waiting for you now.
We're waiting for you. So they're up to 3 episodes now, and I've got a lot of thoughts.
It was on the cover of EW this week.
Oh, I didn't know that. I've been reading the EW online recaps
Okay.
as well, so which are like 7 pages. They're like the whole episode. Like they describe
Each?
everything that happens in the episode. Um, so yeah, the fourth episode is going to be coming out, which is a two. It's a part of a two-parter. Um,
What does that mean?
it's the first part of a two-part arc. It's the the Halloween episode. It's called Halloween, I think. Halloween part one will be next week. Halloween part two will be the week after. So
Okay.
we'll be 4 episodes deep next week. But Sean and I have watched the first three, and we obviously would like to talk about it. But we think we're going to.
Alicia has two. Maybe she'll maybe I'll get her around finally.
Yes, we should definitely try to do that.
Horror podcast.
Or a podcast. So we are not going to cover it in this podcast or in the next regular Sean and Carter have a podcast.
We're gonna do an extra.
Yeah,
Extra. Listen all about it.
yeah, yeah. Is that what it's going to be called? E
No.
L.
I'll ask Alicia for a better title.
It's all vowels. EEAAI. Yeah, so we're gonna cover probably the first three. I I don't think I'll have an opportunity to. I watched the iTunes version, and it's not out until Thursday, and I won't be able to see it until Thursday night. And I bet we're gonna record the podcast before that.
Probably.
So yeah, we're gonna talk about American Horror Story. Fun times.
But today
But today.
we're gonna move on to cheaper horror.
Oh, 1970s horror.
1972.
I believe that's right. Wes Craven's I believe his very
I
first
like calling it Wes Craven's student film.
that's yeah. It's I mostly agree with you, Sean. But I mean, it's a little bit higher quality than a student film, but not a lot.
Watching The Last House on the Left in 2011 is probably a very different experience from watching it in 1972.
I would agree with you.
That the soundtrack for this movie is bizarre.
It's like half of it is I think it was somewhat intentional. Half of it are just like they sound like contemporary songs, like not like top 40 songs from 1972.
Yeah.
The other half are like public domain, like wah pa 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 wah pa 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 pa.
That's exactly what it is. I,
Like
I turned to Alicia at one point and said, "This is the same soundtrack they used for the remake, right?"
like when the family is leaving the next morning from their hideout and they're carrying like one of the guys has Mary like over his shoulder and they're leaving, there's like a wide shot of them and it sounds like the Benny Hill music while they're leaving the house. Well, this was based off of we mentioned this last week. It was based off of an Ingmar Bergman film called The Virgin Spring, which I imagine is probably both better directed, better edited, and better acted, uh, generally. Um,
Just like the Tale of Two Sisters, it itself was based on a like super old ballad.
yeah, Virgin Spring is based on some 13th century something, about revenge. And this is this is I believe real horror aficionados more than I am will probably correct me and say no, it's this obscure film that was only aired once. Um, but I believe this was the big start of the revenge exploitation movie in the 70s.
And you know what? I didn't know it was.
Oh, you didn't? I didn't.
No, I didn't really know that much about the movie at all, and I was I was absorbing it without trying. I was trying not to be like, wow, this is kind of bad. And then when it did get to the revenge part, I was like, never mind, this isn't that bad at all.
Yeah.
Suddenly I was with it. I was like, all right.
Yes. And I can say in the remake, the revenge is much more satisfying. This one's a little more real. Like, I don't think this mom and dad are going to be that great at revenge. Although the mom had like, oh boy.
I don't know if we should talk about what she did.
Well, yeah,
New rating on our podcast, explicit.
explicit. Anyway, in the remake, it's for 2009. They're like, no, I think that we're going to have them, microwave one of these guys' heads,
Okay.
and
It's a little more sawtastic.
it is a lot more sarcastic. In this one, the dad, like the dad is setting up these like Home Alone traps.
I really enjoyed his little like electric doorknob trap. That was nice.
That would have never worked. It would have never worked. There's no way that there would have been a significant amount of conductivity in that water to actually electrocute that guy, unless you'd put like salt in it.
Ooh,
Science fans
use science.
do science. If you put salt in it, yes, I would have believed it. Otherwise, um, so like the plot of this movie is really really simple to explain. Crazy people break out of prison. Two cute girls are trying to score weed before a concert. They fall into this group's clutches, get raped and murdered, and this group coincidentally ends up at one of the girls' houses when their car breaks down. Parents find out, kill them.
That's it.
That's it. That's the whole movie. It's an hour and a half somehow.
Somehow he manages to turn that into 90 minutes.
Yeah. One of my favorite. I've seen this movie a couple times, and I every time I like forget something, and I'm like, the thing I forgot this time was that that weasel dreams that the mom and the dad uh knock his front teeth out with a chisel.
That was the first that might have been the first and only part that Alicia looked away. They put the chisel right on top of his tooth and Alicia was like, "Oh boy."
Yeah, and they cut away at just the right time.
Right.
Wes Craven's good with that sort of stuff, even back then when he was not.
Yeah, you can see. I mean, you can definitely see Wes Craven in there, even in such a mediocre film. You can see where he's headed.
Yeah, definitely. And there's like there's a lot of dark humor in here. I like the
Some of it a little too much humor and not enough dark, but still.
yeah, some of it definitely. Like the like tonally dark humor is in that like first third where you cut back and forth between the increasingly desperate situation of the girls and the increasingly ridiculous activity of the parents. Like there's a
And the
whole
increasingly ridiculous activity of the cops.
oh my god, the cops are so stupid.
Totally inept buffoons, which I'm sure is just another part of the exploitation genre that cops look like idiots.
Yes, this movie it's a revenge thriller or or a revenge horror movie, but it's set in the exploitation zone, which had been going on well before this movie.
Yeah.
So this was playing off of that, and yeah, the cops. I love the response when those kids are driving away. The fat cop just takes his hat off his head and throws it on the ground.
And the other cop, the deputy or whatever, looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger stuffed in like a stripper cop outfit. He looks like he's gonna pull away breakaway pants at any point.
Yeah, he's like the hot cops in Arrested Development. um, So yeah, you can see a lot of Wes Craven in here. Like he just hadn't quite gotten there. He wrote, directed, and edited this too. So
Yep.
good for him on $90,000. Like it really is pretty close to student film. I mean, back in the '70s, that was still a small chunk of change, but not any. That's nothing to phone home about.
Yeah.
Um, and interesting to note, it was originally intended to be a hardcore pornography,
Like Caligula.
like Caligula. That's true with Roddy McDowall. That was a screwed up movie. We will never review that movie on this
We
podcast.
probably should not.
We probably should not. We probably should not. Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot else to say about Last House on the Left. It is very emblematic of the movies of the day, although it has not held up well.
No. You have to be a film fan to actually get the enjoyment out of it.
Yeah. Um, it makes me think of of Peeping Tom.
Yeah.
Peeping Tom came out several years before this, and it is so much higher quality. Even though it looks dated, it is so much higher quality than this.
Just the tone
Yeah,
of it is completely different. It's just there's something about quiet
yeah,
that is that sets tone really well, and Wes Craven didn't know how to be quiet in this movie.
yeah. And it feels like he probably didn't have the time to there are just some scenes that don't work, and they're just thrown in there, and it's like, well, this didn't work, but I'm gonna put it in here anyway
But we
because
shot it.
we shot it right. It's like I didn't have time to get it right, but I'm gonna put it in anyway.
I noticed constantly there were scenes that I wanted a second angle that I was like, why is there not a camera over there?
Yeah,
Like they would just go on and on showing this one angle and then like a close up of someone's face and then back to that angle and then someone's face and then back to that angle.
yeah, yeah.
Buy
I
another camera, Wes.
$90,000, so didn't really have the budget to do it.
So have you seen the remake?
Yes, I have.
And is it comparable? Is it good?
It's
It's
fine.
not by a director that apparently has ever done anything else.
No, I don't know who the director is. It is fine. It's forgettable. And I believe Wes Craven was part of the creative team
Sure.
ish on the new one.
He gave a little money so that he could get a lot out.
Right. And it's it's a modern movie with a modern horror movie's budget. So it takes the basic plot, it updates it for 2009. The I would say that um the the rape and torture is more modern but less extreme, if that makes
Okay.
sense. Like
Yeah.
I would say that the those scenes in this movie are very disconcerting. Um,
It seems like every iteration of this film has had a lot of controversy surrounding the rape scenes, including the Ingmar Bergman version.
yeah,
Even that had controversy.
right. I would say that the rape and murder in 2009 are much less controversial than 1972 version.
Still had to appeal for an R over a NC-17.
Yes. Um, I would say that there's more payoff at the end with the revenge. So
I gotcha.
it's certainly not, I mean, it's not on stream, and I wouldn't pay for it. Although I paid for it, but I see everything, even the crap. I saw the new Nightmare movie. That was obviously going to be terrible.
And you just can't help yourself.
You know who is in the new Nightmare movie?
No.
I can't think of her real name, but Viv from American Horror Story is the psychiatrist in
Oh, no
the
way.
Nightmare. Yeah, that was
Yeah, I
like
don't
one.
I don't know her name either.
I don't know her name. Um, but we'll talk about that on a future podcast.
Yeah, I think I still will make some kind of attempt to see Hills Have Eyes because I haven't seen the original or the remake.
Neither have I. I really want to.
And I saw High Anxiety, which is the director who made the remake. And while I wouldn't give him anything for his story, it's a very visceral and well made film.
Wait,
High Anxiety is.
high anxiety. Wait,
High
high
Tension.
tension, right? High
High
anxiety is a
Anxiety is a
Mel
Mel
Brooks film.
Brooks movie.
I'm like, are you sure it's high anxiety?
High Tension is a French horror film,
Haute tension. Yes,
and it's excellent.
it is excellent. We're gonna be wrapping the horror movie month, but there is a whole genre that I wish we could have touched on, which is called New French Extremity. High tension. This movie called Martyrs, which is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Uh,
Jeez,
yeah,
what
uh,
high praise.
high praise. Pascal, I can't think of his last name, or rather, can't pronounce it really. He directed this amazing French film, Pascal Laugier, um, and he was up for and subsequently is not going to be part of this project. He was up to direct the remake of Hellraiser that Clive Barker is working on.
Really?
Yeah, I was really excited for it, but whatever, I don't know. And the, they're gonna do an American remake of Martyrs. Uh,
What? Where is it originally from? French.
France,
France.
yeah, it's France. And the word on the street rumor, which I have not seen disconfirmed, is that one of the main characters, it stars two women. One of the really interesting things about it is it's basically all women. Uh, that one of the main characters will be played by none other than Kristen Stewart.
Oh,
Oh, oh.
you just broke my heart a little, Carter.
Let's bow our heads in silence. Death of this
Well,
American remake.
at least there's the French original, which I will go watch and ignore the American remake.
Yes, you should definitely see Martyrs. It one person described watching it in a review as akin to looking into a blast furnace for 90 minutes.
Wow.
I would say that that is probably pretty close to accurate.
Well, I think you just sold me.
Okay, well, I it's not on streaming. You'll have to get the DVD, but it's great. It's well worth it. It's well worth buying, frankly.
Sponsor of this week's podcast, French Neo something.
New Extremity.
New Extremity.
New Extremity. There's another there another one of the films that is in that category is a French film called L'Intérieur, Inside. It's about a pregnant woman and an evil old woman who, well, let's just say she has some scissors and wants something
That sounds about right.
extreme. So we're about to wrap uh, Horror October.
I know. And we have time for one more horrible film.
Horrible,
And
hilarious.
you went ahead and beat the curve and saw it already.
Yes, I did. I had to. Maybe I'll see it again if I have time. I doubt I'll have the time, but maybe. Well, it has to be Paranormal Activity 3, right?
It's got to be. It's the new Saw.
I know, and it's so much better than having Saw. I would like, and I'll no spoilers, but they could definitely do a fourth movie. I mean, this takes it. I'll spoil this. It takes place in the past, and it doesn't affect it. And none of it takes place in the future. None of it
Okay.
takes place in the present. So it's like,
Everything happens in 1988.
yes, like you're just learning things. So it's like if you thought they could have done a sequel after Paranormal Activity 2, they still could do a fourth one. This one changes.
Right. They
Uh,
have so much room to maneuver backwards and forwards. It's fantastic.
yes, the one thing that as they continue to make these, which I hope they do, this is a great Halloween movie, so much better than Saw, is they've got to find new ways to figure out why someone is filming their house.
Right, 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 right.
Although, like the two things that these movies have, like so in Saw, the thing is like, what? How are they gonna kill him? What are the traps gonna be? Right. That's really all you're waiting for, and the
Right.
story is sort of like whatever. This, it's um, what are the scares gonna be? Like, what are the little ghostly happenings? And you know the I'm not. I don't want to spoil anything for you.
But
So
I'm waiting. I want to know.
there are some good ones.
Alicia and I are going to go see it this week. It's
Rem-
going to happen.
remember the thing that you said about Paranormal Activity 2, the one that really got you?
Yeah.
There's a similar one.
Okay.
Okay, I won't say anything else.
Okay.
Uh, and then two, what are the angles going to be? Like what shots are they going to get? How are they going to frame all the shots? And there's a particularly clever one in this one that is just like so nerve wracking. I will say.
Okay.
You're just like, no. Like,
Any moment in the first two that a camera would get like dropped or unmanned in some way was usually one of the worst times.
yeah, that's never good.
Either it won't point at anything useful or it will point at something that you don't want to see.
Yes. And I remember in the first one that like no feeling every time it's night. You know, you're like, no, why is it night again? Stop it. Now it's like they've just dialed it up. It's like not only is it night, but now I've got this like more like things added on top. Like, no, why are you doing this to me? Why am I suffering through this? Also, I had a great crowd. Great crowd.
Yeah, I hope we get it this week or else we're going to miss the great crowds.
Yeah. It was a packed house and there was a guy way in the back who by the end he was just like shouting like, "Don't go in there. What are you doing?" Like, "Oh, you like your face is going to get melted off." He was very entertaining,
Obviously not a European.
obviously.
They
So,
don't speak in theaters, kids.
so yeah, go see Paranormal Activity 3. See it in a theater. Don't pay to see it in a theater. If don't none of this torrents or whatever the kids are doing these days. Go
Torrential downpours.
torrential downpours. Go see this. It's in the theaters. Is it rated R?
I don't I don't know.
I think it's
I don't think.
PG-13.
Why would it be?
Yeah, I think there is one use of it's rated R.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. Violence, language, brief sexuality, and drug use.
They do use drugs at the same time. There is the brief sexuality.
Oh. So it could be rated R for one scene for all we know.
I think it's probably a combination of the amount of like terror and the drug use and the language.
I've seen so much bad stuff in PG-13. I'm amazed what gets rated R.
Yeah, this one just has too much of it. I think that's the problem. It, like if they cut out some of the curse words, they probably could have gotten away with the rest. And the brief sexuality is like not you don't you don't say anything.
Just in case you're horny, don't see this movie.
Yeah, 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 kids.
It won't do it for you.
It won't go watch some creepy French film. They get all kinds of weird. Yeah, so we will be talking about Paranormal Activity 3 next week.
And we'll be talking about American Horror Story on a separate special podcast.
Ooh, special podcast. I'm excited.
I've got tingles.
Tingles, tingles. All right.
If you want to tweet at us about the episode suggestions or talk about Halloweeny things, use the hashtag SCHP.
Mm-hmm. Do
And you can email us at shawnandcarter@gmail.com.
you sure can? I'll be looking forward to it.
That's all the info I got.
I got nothing else. I think
Tapped out.
it's a wrap. It's a wrap, Sean.
It's a wrap.